Right, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'd. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we glorify Him, we thank Him, and we send peace and blessings upon the final messenger of God, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How's everyone doing? Everyone doing okay? That means I think you guys are in a food coma from eating so many tacos and quesadillas, inshallah. Food was okay? Food was delicious? Alhamdulillah. We thank you all for supporting the masjid. All the proceeds go back to the masjid, the expenses that we have for the project, and to hopefully do more events like this. I hope this was beneficial for everyone. I hope everyone liked it. Now the second part of our Halal Talk Night is our journey to Islam, which is something very important for us. And the reason for that is because, as you've noticed, alhamdulillah, all thanks and praise belongs to Allah, we're having a number of people embracing the message of Islam, meaning they're reverting and converting to Islam. And so we have a diversity here in our community, and we want to make sure that we educate our community about our diversity. And number two, also you get to see some of the challenges that they go through, so that this way, when you do come across someone who recently embraced Islam, you're in a position to really talk to them and really help them out as well in their journey to learning more about the message of Islam, inshallah. So this is one of our hopes, is to have creative events, but at the same time educate our community about our diversity here, inshallah, and at many mosques nationwide. So today, our plan, and also this event is being live streamed. So for those of you, if someone was coming, but they're not able to come, they're stuck in traffic, or you know of any other family members that would love to watch something like this, all they have to do is go onto YouTube right now, plug in IIOC TV, and the video should be streaming live right now. So if you want to go ahead and send them that link, that'll be great, so that nobody misses it. Again, just go on YouTube, put in IIOC TV. It should say streaming live right now, inshallah, God willing. So I'm very happy, I'm very honored to have this program again. As you know, we try to do this every few months, just to kind of let the community know about the people, the amount of brothers and sisters that are accepting Islam here. And we're very fortunate and very blessed, inshallah. So before we get to the actual main program, just a blueprint of how we're going to continue. I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask both of our speakers here. And once we ask the questions, I hope this is a good representation of the questions that the community might have as well as a whole. Once that is completed, it's about maybe 3 to 4 questions, judging the time. We have an open question and answer session at the end. So if you want to ask any type of questions towards our speakers, you're most welcome to do so. I would suggest, so that you don't forget your question, if you want to write it down or text it to yourself or something, so that when we come to the end in about 45 minutes to an hour, you won't forget that. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, we'll have a volunteer going around with the mic, and they can go ahead and help with that, inshallah. Third point before we start, I want to really say, I want to really thank all the volunteers. So you see the work that was happening today, the Halal Taco Night. You can see the logistics behind it and the work that goes behind something like this. This was spearheaded by our volunteer team here at IIOC. So everyone that was either giving you a ticket or giving you food or standing behind the drinks and so forth, these are the volunteers that we have at IIOC. And many of them are actually new Muslims, someone that has recently embraced the message of Islam. So my advice to everyone is that get involved. Get involved here at the masjid or whatever masjid that you live by, because this is how we want to take part in the services of the masjid. So if you're in a position to maybe dedicate a few hours a week, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, whatever it is, I would highly recommend you do that. You can see me, you can always call the office here, open Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday, and you can let them know. You can email us and so forth, inshallah, okay? But really, I want to make sure that we have something to take home. That is that to take part in your masjid, inshallah. Okay, I think we're ready to start. Everybody ready? Oh, come on, that was... We're ready, yeah? Okay, alhamdulillah. Taib, inshallah. So, to my right here, we have Sister Crystal Milan. She's going to be one of our panelists or one of our speakers here. Embrace Islam with us, inshallah. We have a series of questions for Sister Crystal. And to my left, we have Brother Joey Curry, who also embraced the message of Islam, and both of them are part of our masjid here. So it's we're very happy and very honored to have them with us here today, inshallah, God willing. So let's get started. I have a few questions. I hope this represents the questions that the community might have again. So Joey, I'm going to start with you, if it's okay, and the same question towards you as well, Sister Crystal. Tell us, just so we can lay a foundation down, tell us a little bit about your life before Islam.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, unlike a lot of people my age, from my, community, from a very young age, I had a very positive experience with Islam. during the 80s and 90s, my father was in the United States Air Force, and he was stationed in Afghanistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia. So when I was growing up, you know, this is 80s, mid 90s, I would receive gifts from these countries. I remember I would get a kafia, which is like for any non-Muslims, it's kind of like a scarf. Yeah, I also had a rather extensive coin collection. One of the major parts of my coin collection was a lot of money, coins from, you know, these countries, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Afghanistan. I would have pictures of these countries, of, you know, mosques my dad visited. Now, we were Muslim, but I had a very positive experience with this from a very early age. When I was exposed to Islam, it was something that said, oh, here's, you know, a different perspective on Jesus, on God, that a lot of people my age and, you know, still, you know, even older now, they just never experienced that before. After high school, I went to community college. I went to Cal State Fullerton as well. I got a bachelor's degree in economics. I have an associate's degree in business. I never focused too much on career. I probably should have focused more on what I was going to do. I did want to learn, though, and learning was always important to me. So studying Islam was important to me. Studying religion was important to me. Of course, during this time, I was a Christian. Although you probably couldn't tell, it was very personal, not very outward way of expression of that.
Thank you, Joey. Anybody from Cal State Fullerton here? Any Titans in the house? All right, quite a few. We got some love on this side here. We got some love on this side. MashaAllah. Good. Okay, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you all. Sister Crystal, I'm going to ask you the same question. If you can let us know a little bit about your life before Islam. Then we'll get to the good stuff as well.
Okay, you can all hear me. Bismillah. So when I was 12 and a half, my parents separated, and that was a really tragic thing for me as a child to go through the difficulties and the trauma of my family breaking up at such an early age. So at an early age, from like a preteen on until my 20s, I struggled deeply with depression. And it was very hard for me to get out of that. And after I actually ended up having a really bad relationship with both of my parents. So after my parents divorced, I didn't have a relationship with my father. The relationship with my mother just grew far worse. And it was very difficult. So when I was about 17 and a half years old, I moved out of my home, which was really, really, really hard. I had to work about 2 to 3 jobs at a time to support myself. And even that was a struggle. So for me, I was just really trying to survive in life, trying to shelter myself, trying to feed myself. And that was really hard for a young girl to do. I was constantly, like I said, battling with my emotions. So I was just trying to survive that. I had very low self-esteem. I doubted myself so much. Really, I just wanted to give up on life. So as far as my faith, my background, I was actually a Catholic. And I grew up Catholic, but my family wasn't really a practicing Catholicism. So, you know, I got a glimpse of that when I was really small. I got a glimpse of God, but I became very desperate after that. When I was older, I had always asked my mother, please take us to church, take us to church. So finally, she took us to church about 1 or 2 times, and I really didn't understand the ceremony. Like, I didn't understand what was being said, and for some reason, I never felt connected. You know, I say this because I know we have non-Muslim friends in the audience and probably live streaming now. So whatever I'm saying, it's from my own experience and through my own journey to find Islam and to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when I was a teenager, I tried Christianity. I tried learning, you know, maybe I was like, well, maybe it's being Catholic, so let me try, learning about Christianity. So I did that, and even that didn't resonate with me. I just couldn't find my creator. So I just I had gone through a lot of difficulties. So I believed that there was a God, but through the hardships, sometimes I doubted that there was a God. So my life before Islam.
Thank you so much to both of you. Just by a show of hands, do we have any non-Muslim guests with us here today? Don't be shy. I see 1, we see 2, 3. We see a few hands. 4. Okay, good. Just wanted to welcome you all. Thank you so much for taking time out and joining us here. I assume this might be your first time here at the mosque. So I want to make sure the community here welcomes you guys. So make sure, please, as a community, we welcome everybody. Number 2, do we have any new Muslims or reverts or converts, whatever term we want to use here today? Just by a show of hands. How many new Muslims, reverts, or converts here today? Don't be shy. Raise your hands, please. I can't. Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. A good number. Good, mashallah. May Allah bless you all. Just wanted to make sure we get see who's here. Okay, jumping to our second question. Sister Crystal, since we finished off with you, I'm going to ask you first. So we know a little bit about your background. You had a maybe Christian/Catholic background. What sparked your interest about Islam? Was there something in particular that sparked your interest for you to start your journey, or?
So for me, I actually really never had exposure to Muslims, or I had no knowledge about Islam. So when I was growing up, I only had 2 friends that wore hijab, and I thought they wore it out of culture. I didn't know what hijab was, or what.
Like a fashion trend, or the culture? Like culture. Okay.
Culture. I just thought it was something done in the Middle East, and that was my knowledge. One day I would go to gatherings with friends, and I would see this particular individual doing these really weird things that I had never seen before. And so I was like, gosh, what is this doing? And as a psych, I always wanted to be a psych major. I was always interested in psychology. I was like, wow, does this person have strange compulsions? Like, what are they doing? I ended up finding out that they were making voodoo. And they were like, voodoo? And I was like, voodoo? So that was really, really funny.
Oh, you thought voodoo. Okay, that's okay.
So I had to ask more questions, and through asking questions,
you probably got scared at first, like, what's going on? Okay, got it.
I was looking for the little dummies that you stick the needles.
Yeah.
So through asking this individual questions, they really broke down the essence of Islam and what their faith was all about, and when they had told me, God is one, something just instantly clicked inside of my heart. I was just like, wow, that can't be possible. That's too easy. Like, that's exactly what I've believed my whole life. That's too easy. There's no way. So after that, I did more research, and then this individual had told me to read the book Reclaim Your Heart by Yasmin Mogahed, and I don't know how many of you have read that book, but I encourage you to read the book. I read that book, and for me, I was constantly in tears because I felt like Yasmin Mogahed had wrote my entire life's journey in her book, and it was talking about the dunya, this temporary world, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with gifts in our hands, but we let them seep into our hearts, and when we let them seep into our hearts, they take control of our hearts, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should have control over our hearts. And so for me, that's kind of where I constantly messed up in my past. I would let memories, people, and everything seep into my heart. So I read that book. Then after that, Egypt was calling me. So I went to Egypt. And when I went to Egypt, I got to see the Muslim families. I got to see Muslim individuals. I got to see their manners. And then Ramadan had just ended, so they did, it was the second holiday, the Eid prayer, the Eid holiday. So I decided that I wanted to go see how the Muslims prayed. So I went to the Eid prayer that they had, and for me it was just so astonishing. It was so beautiful to see. I mean, I had no idea what was going on, but just to see and know that everybody was praying at the same exact moment, in the same exact direction, to one God was just so beautiful to me. So that really caught my attention. And then when I was in Egypt, I went to Dahab. And I don't know, Sinai Dahab is just so beautiful. I went to sea diving in the Blue Hole, and I don't know how many of you have heard of the Blue Hole, but it's actually a very deadly diving spot. So alhamdulillah, I didn't die in the blue hole, but as a non-Muslim, so I went sea diving, and when I went sea diving, it was just a moment of realization for me, because when I went into the water and I looked around and I could see all these, these fish, one creature, but there's just so many, and just swimming into the ocean and knowing that I'm like a person, I'm a person and I live on land, and there's just an entire different world below us, was just so astonishing to me. And I realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I knew God was right before me, in front of my eyes, through all his creations. So that for me was a really, really big moment. And those were the main things that really sparked my interest in Islam.
So Egypt, huh? Egypt's beautiful,
yeah.
inshallah. Anybody from Egypt here? Yes, like half the crowd, inshallah. Allah bless you all. Joey, I'm going to ask you the same question. What sparked your interest about Islam? So for Sister Crystal, it was a number of things. How about you for yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't an overnight thing, and it's hard to really pinpoint one specific instance. But I mentioned I was kind of into Christianity. It was kind of a personal thing. However, around when I was in community college, I got a job as a math tutor, a teacher assistant for the community college, and there was a group of us. And I get to talking to one person. I later found out that she was a Muslim sister, and we begin. I actually had brought in my Bible one day, and I was, so kind of sparked a conversation, and we got to talking about the differences and similarities between Islam, and that was one of my first, encounters with the actual text. And kind of the beliefs, the differences in beliefs. One of the things that really stuck with me then, this must have been 5-6 years ago, was that if there's any Christians or non-Muslims, Christians, we believe that Jesus Christ died. Muslims don't believe he died, and so that was a very difficult thing for me to accept. And to kind of, I was taught that was so important to me, and the meaning of it was so important. But as the years, that never escaped my mind. It was always in the back of my head, and so that when I finally accepted that, Jesus Christ, in Islam we say Al-Masih, the Messiah, Isa, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is, the prophet. Accepting that he didn't die is actually a very powerful, relieving emotion for me. So it actually fills me a lot. It puts me in a lot better mood, I guess. It makes me a lot happier. It's a much more hopeful, positive message, and I'm glad that that's the way it is. Now, so as I'm looking, as I'm studying Islam over these years for my first initial exposure to it, I search, Wikipedia, Google. I kind of learn different, things about Islam, and I wind up, actually going to a used bookstore and purchasing a copy of the Quran, a Mus'haf. So it had English and Arabic letters in it. So that's when I first started reading it, and I really fell in love with it. The writings, the art. I kind of was like, I want this to be my book. I wish I wanted to. This is what I wanted to believe in. I wanted this book. So I had to do a lot of struggling trying to meet each, kind of difference in the religion. I had to accept that. And, if, again, like I said, if there's any non-Muslims in the audience or on the internet, no disrespect, but even as a Christian, I always kind of felt uneasy about the Trinity. I always, play it safe and say, just worship, in Christianity we call it the Father. you know, I would always play it safe. That always made me feel a little bit more comfortable. But another thing is what I really like about Islam after I started reading the Quran is, you know, Surah Yusuf, or like I said, in English it's the chapter about the Prophet Joseph. That was a very, my name's Joseph, well my full name is Joseph, so I kind of had like a weird,
It fit.
I was like, this is about me. I was like, oh no, like, so I really felt special, and I really wanted to be Muslim from there.
Alhamdulillah. Quick question. So when you mentioned you had your Bible when you were a Christian, were you like the ones that used to like carry it around campus, or is it just like a one-off thing that day?
Yes and no. Like, okay.
Because I'm curious, you mentioned that the sister, she was also a tutor, I think you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So she saw your Bible?
Right.
And she started, and then that's how the discussion started, or?
Yeah. So basically it was kind of, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, no
I was
worries.
carrying it around, but why I was carrying it around is a whole
Leave it at that. Khair, inshallah. Sister Crystal, now we know a little bit about your background and what sparked your interest about Islam. Do you mind, if you're comfortable in doing so, do you mind actually taking us through the actual Shahada when you actually said, you know what, yeah, I want to do this. It actually makes sense to me, and I want to go through it. Like, what was going through your mind? Were you nervous? And the reason I'm asking is because maybe the majority of us, we were maybe born into a Muslim family, so we don't really understand what the process might be for someone who's coming from a different religious background and saying, you know what, I want to leave everything for the sake of God. So if you don't mind, if you can just take us through that. Yeah, no problem. Yes, budget cuts, it's okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. So for me, one of the things, actually, I had already been kind of acting like a Muslim way before I actually became a Muslim. But one of the things that was holding me back severely was hijab. I knew that if I became a Muslim, I wanted to wear the hijab, but I didn't want to wear the hijab. Because, I mean, I think many as women, you know, I think we can all agree, or most of us can agree, that for us, our hair is our beauty. That's how we identify as women. So for me, it was a constant struggle with hijab. I would cry over it. I was completely devastated over it. So I made it my mission because Ramadan was quickly approaching, and I wanted to be a Muslim because I wanted to have the Muslim experience. I wanted to fast. I wanted to you know, really embrace this month that Muslims embrace. So 4 months before I converted, I started doing heavy research on hijab, what it meant to be a woman wearing hijab, what the hijab meant. And so, you know, through asking questions, through reviewing and researching, I got my answer. So 4 months before I converted, I started practicing wearing the hijab. Another thing that was holding me back was knowledge. I felt that I needed to have extensive knowledge before becoming a Muslim. I felt like it was a great responsibility, and I needed to fulfill my duty as a Muslim to the fullest. So I wanted to convert, but I wasn't ready to convert, even though my heart was ready. So I held back for several months. So the day of my Shahada, you know, I wasn't ready to convert, but I was ready. So I had just left an event, and I was speeding on the freeway because I had an appointment at the masjid. And so that was really, really terrible. But so I got to the masjid. I was very, very nervous. The speeding part, astaghfirullah, that was really terrible. No, the speeding part. You know, that would have been terrible if I would have gotten in a car accident before I became a Muslim, right? And God forbid, but anyhow, so I got to the masjid, and I was very, very nervous, but I was just like, wow, my life is going to change in a moment. It's just, everything's going to change. So I was really nervous about that. I didn't know what to expect, even though I had already felt like a Muslim. Anyhow, so then I got to the masjid. I met with a representative. The representative was going to help me, of course, do my Shahada. So I had my witness there. And then, you know, funny little story, I had actually, you know, because I've been trying to prep myself to become a Muslim, I found an audio clip online that was going over the Shahada, how to say the Shahada. So, you know, I really wanted to enter Islam with the bang, you know? So I was listening to this audio clip over and over and over and over, La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. And I kept repeating that to myself. So that when I was actually doing my Shahada, I sat down and in my head, I'm like, oh, he's gonna, you know, ask me, you know, what, you know, to do the Shahada. So we went over the basics, and I was like, the moment they ask, you know, about my Shahada, I'm gonna know how to do it. I'm gonna say it like with an Arab accent and everything. So time for my Shahada. My Shahada came, so we went over the Shahada, and I was, you know, thinking in my head I was gonna be like, La ilaha illallah, you know? Didn't go like that at all. It was a very long Shahada that I wasn't prepared for. So I was like, whoa, okay, that threw me off. But so after I did the Shahada, you know, it took me about a good 2 to 5 minutes, and I think it just kind of like sank in. And I just kind of went blank, and then I just started to cry. It was just such an emotional moment. I just felt like my tears, the tears that were coming out of me were just tears of complete purification. You know, just Allah was internally purifying me through my tears. So it took me a couple of minutes to regroup, and you know, when I walked out of the masjid, it was just such an interesting experience. When I walked out of the masjid, I felt like I was walking out of the masjid and like I was being born, like I was just coming out of my mother's womb. Like I felt like a baby all over again. And I came out of the masjid, and the sky was bluer, the grass was greener, the flowers, I don't know what it was, but my taste, smell, hearing, seeing senses were just completely heightened. And I can't really explain that experience, but it was an amazing experience. So, you know, I felt really blessed, and, you know, I went in practicing wearing hijab, being completely scared, and I walked out never taking off my hijab ever again. So that was a really big blessing for me.
You know, Sister Crystal brings up one very important point, and I've noticed this as well, being here at the Dawah department, not just here, but just over years of experience now. And that is, and maybe some of you can relate to it if you're someone that reverted or converted to Islam. You know, sometimes we study, and then we study, and we study like as a non-Muslim, right? And you know all about the basics of Islam, but for some reason, you just keep studying, right? So I think what Sister Crystal is saying is that there's a point where you just say, you know what, this makes sense. Because if the fundamentals or the foundation of Islam makes sense, the most important things, what makes you think that the minor things later on won't make sense? Are you with me? If the fundamentals, meaning the basics, make sense to you, Tawheed, God is one, the Day of Judgment, the concept of prophets, and so forth, and the 5 pillars, what makes you think the things later on won't make sense to you? You know? So sometimes we have to, and what I'm saying, just please also understand, you don't force somebody either. You understand, yeah? You don't force somebody, but at the same time, if someone, it's like you ran a marathon and you stop right at the finish line. Yeah. Just cross, you know? And sometimes you just need someone to talk to you from the heart and say, you know what? This is Islam, this is how simple it is. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. Joy, I'm gonna ask you the same question.
All right.
What was your Shahada, like your actual when you became Muslim?
Right. Well, we all notice these gates out here. Now, I was going to Cal State Fullerton. It was my last semester. I had passed this masjid, you know, either when I was driving or taking the bus, you know, maybe a couple times a week. And you never are promised tomorrow, you know. If you're, you know, God, you know, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala can take you away, you know, any moment. And so when you know that you have a responsibility and to God to basically, when I knew that I wanted to be a Muslim and I knew that's what God wanted me to do, I had to take my Shahada as soon as possible, and I just would not stop until I did. And I actually came all the way down here, and you know, we noticed this gate out here. I had taken my shoes off before, like, as soon as I got in the gate. So, like, sometimes remember me, like, just walking with my socks in the parking lot.
Wait, just so I understand, You took your shoes off before you came, like in the parking lot?
In the parking lot.
If it's not too much, why?
Well, okay, because like
I'm curious.
for some reason, like it's like how to me it was like hallowed ground. I was like this fence here separates the outside world from this God's area.
See why we have programs like this to really. I mean, this is amazing. I never would have thought something like that. I don't know about you guys, so that's thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I learned it's to keep the carpets clean, so we want to keep the carpets clean. So when you go into the prayer hall, just make sure you put your shoes on the rack. But so yeah, and so I made this big old scene, and I was like, I want to take my Shahada. So I took my Shahada, and we had a lot of people help and guide me through it because I didn't know the finer things. And wow, the mentor program. So exactly, we had the mentor program and the outreach department here guided me because I knew in my heart I wanted to be a Muslim, but I didn't know a lot of some of the other stuff. I didn't know how to pray. If I didn't have my mentor from the outreach department, I didn't have anybody helping me out, guiding me through this. Oh man, so that was a huge important part of it. And
no, thank you so much. That's very fascinating. I'm going to put a really quick plug in for our outreach and our Dawah and outreach department here. So we have a number of services here, and I would love for you folks to get involved in the masjid here in our outreach department. We have 4 specific services. Number 1, we have many people that actually want to visit the masjid, want to get a tour of the masjid. If you guys remember, as we've been trying to announce, last year in 2017, we had over 50 tours of the masjid, 50, of non-Muslims coming and visiting us here at the masjid. So we need people that can help us and, like a tour guide, if you will, that knows the basics of Islam. Number 2, we do presentations at churches, colleges, universities, middle schools, and so forth. Just the other day, we had a middle school of about 80 students that came from a local middle school. They walked over because it was so close. So we need help in things like that. So we do presentations as well. And for some of you, if you're here from Cal State Fullerton or Fullerton College, we've done a number of presentations there as well. Number 3, we have our dawah tables, our information tables. So we actually go into the malls. We set up a table like this with Qur'ans in English and Spanish with flyers, and we just have a conversation with people because many people have questions, but they're just waiting for us to talk to them. And 99% of the people that I come across and the outreach team comes across, really nice people, positive people that just have questions. Right? So I want us as a community to get involved. For those of you, if you're live streaming, we have a number of people live streaming. If you're interested, just see me at the end. You can shoot me an email. You can contact me. I'm the outreach manager here, so I'll be more than happy to work together. And number 4, really quickly, what Joey talked about is our mentorship program. We have a very special program here at IIOC, which I'm very happy about. That is the moment somebody embraces Islam, usually what do? Who can help me out? If somebody embraces Islam, like at Jum'ah, after Friday's sermon or after the prayer, what do we usually do as a community? Okay. Nobody? Like what type of? Oh, okay, you gave the answer. That's good. Usually what we do is Takbir, Allahu Akbar, and the hugs once, and the other person hugs twice, and the other one 3, and the person's already confused. Now once or twice, how many tried? But the question is, did anybody get the phone number? Did anybody get their email address? Did anybody have the courtesy to say, you know what, hey, I want to take you for lunch? So theoretically, yes, that's what we want to do. But realistically, do we ever get their contact information? We usually don't, unfortunately. And this is why we lose contact with so many of our new Muslim brothers and sisters. So here at IIOC, what we do is the moment somebody embraces Islam, we plug them into our services every Friday, every Sunday, every week. We have classes for new Muslims and non-Muslims and even family members of new Muslims to come and support, to learn more about the basics of Islam. Number 2, we have one-on-one mentorship. So at least once a week for at least an hour, the new Muslim, our brother or our sister gets together with their mentor. And the mentor is someone that's specifically hand-chosen from the community. And number 2, went through a workshop, a training with us. They work with the new Muslim on how to make wudu, the cleaning, wudu, right? I like that one. That was a good one. How to pray, right? And so we have many people that actually learn how to pray. Just imagine, some of us, we take it for granted, but imagine, we learn Surah Fatiha, right? Chapter 1 of the Quran. But for someone who's new to Islam and Arabic is not their native language, can you imagine them learning Surah Fatiha? Learning how to pray? And when you watch them actually pray, and that was a little investment that you made 1 hour a week, that's amazing. That's amazing. So if anybody in this room or anybody that's live streaming or anybody here knows of someone that would like to help in these different services that I mentioned, please let me know. You can see me at the end of the program or as how you guys like, inshallah, God willing. Also a reminder, just very quickly, because I'm seeing the kitchen is still open. So in case anybody wants to grab food even after the program, it'll be open. So make sure you support the masjid. All proceeds, money goes back to the masjid, inshallah. Very quickly, because we are coming, time is ticking away. Next question, your life now afterwards. Crystal, I'm going to ask you if it's okay. You took us through your very interesting Shahada experience of you speeding and so forth. Tell us your life now, if you don't mind. Is your life changed, you know?
Okay. So my life after Islam, even though I'm going to speak about a lot of blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with, it has been difficult as a convert. You know, even like Brother Jamal had said, learning how to pray, learning the Arabic, it is challenging, you know, and aside from that, I think we come from a completely different background with our families and hijab and how do we present ourselves and, you know, changing our culture to like a religious culture. You know, it can be challenging, but really it's a really big blessing. So I just wanted to say that. But so my life after Islam has really been great. I went back to school. I'm a major in child development and in psychology, and I ended up getting, as of right now, double honors. I'm a double honors student. I'm so proud to say that. It's been really difficult, but alhamdulillah, Allah has made it possible. Through patience, you know, I was able to get a job on school campus as a mentor. So I mentor other students on campus doing many different things. I rekindled the relationship with my father, and I'm actually living with him now. So it's been nice to reconnect and get that, what I needed from my father, you know, at a young age. I went to Egypt and I studied with, I'm sure many of you know, with Al-Azhar, the university. So I did a summer program with them. That for me was a really big blessing, being a Muslim, you know, and receiving that blessing early on, you know, getting really educated and spending, you know, entire summer just completely devoted to Islamic studies. That was really amazing, and I really hope to do that again soon, inshallah. I met my match, and I recently got engaged, alhamdulillah. So that's been a big blessing. I feel like I got engaged to a really, really great, supportive Muslim man whose family completely took me in. And, you know, I'm so happy to now be starting, you know, a new family and a Muslim family soon, inshallah. And it's just, really, life has been a blessing. It's been hard. Nothing has been really easy, but it's kind of like that saying that people say, anything in life that is easy is not worth doing, and anything worth doing in life is hard. And really, it has been tough, but this life is all about tests and trials, you know? So it's been a blessing. Every step of the way has been a blessing.
So you mentioned you met your match, and so we're very actually honored. Her sister Crystal's fiance is here with us today. Actually, is Brother Abdurrahman. Not to put you on the spot, if you could just raise your hand for us. Abdurrahman also is actually part of our outreach department. As when I mentioned those information tables and dawah tables, he's actually one of our mentors that are helping us on the tables, talking to so many people about the message of Islam. So may Allah bless you, bless both of you guys' marriage, inshallah, and give you guys happiness, inshallah. Joey, I'm going to pose that question to you, my man, your life afterwards.
So, you know, I recently found this quote on, it was Facebook. Basically, it was a conversation, a dialogue between two people. One person, you know, he was a very, you know, pious person who prayed a lot, and another man who's rather irreverent. And he asked him, he says, "Here, look, I see you praying all the time. You know, you're obviously very religious. But tell me, what have you gained from all of this? What has God given you? You know, did you get, you know, more money? Did you get, you know, I don't know, that's about as limited as my brain is. It's, I guess, more money, but, you know, and he was like, no, actually, it's not about what I've gained, but it's about what I've lost. Basically, what I've lost was, you know, impatience, anger, anxiety, worry, grief, you know, greed, miserliness, cowardliness. These are all things that I've lost. So life after taking the Shahada is not so much about what I've gained. It's more of the things I've lost. So personally, you know, I don't worry about anything anymore. You know, I know that, you know, Allah is, we say, Malik, or the king. You know, he's in charge of everything. And we have an idea in Islam called taqwa, which is, bear with me as I try to explain it, we're conscious of God everywhere. So in any situation, Allah is there. So you really have nothing to fear, nothing to worry about, except of course Allah. So you should always obey and do what you want. But other than that, nothing in the world's going to harm you. So just that's how I am right now.
Yeah. One of the things actually I found as well, and especially when you speak to someone who's recently embraced Islam, is the concept of taqwa, or being aware of the Creator, of Allah, watching everything that we do. So one is very careful in the decisions and the choices that they make. So it's a very good point. Time is coming down. Again, we're going to have a question and answer session. For those of you, if you have questions, we're going to start in a little bit. But the last question I'm going to pose to both of you, Joy, I'm going to start with you, is do you have any suggestions or maybe some feedback or something that you want to talk to the audience about? Muslim, non-Muslim, someone who's interested in Islam, someone that might be in the same position as you were, right?
For sure.
What would you say to them
Right.
if they're watching right now?
I guess one simple phrase is take it easy, you know, for Muslims and non-Muslims alike. For example, if there's a recent convert, they're not going to, you know everything perfect. They might come in here with a big old green mohawk, you know, or something, you know. But something I learned, you know, very, very early on, you know, I think I was sleeping on my stomach in the prayer hall, and you know, a brother, you know, now typically if you want to correct a convert, you know, talk to anyone in the outreach department to talk about it. But you know, very politely, he said, hey, we don't sleep on our stomach, you know. So you know, as long as you're with patience and, you know, education and love for your brother, that's the way to approach it, because we're gonna make those mistakes that we had no idea about. And, you know, and as far as for the new converts, you know, take your time with it, try and, you know, do better, you know, every day. You want to get closer to Allah and, you know, learn as much as you can, but you're not going to be perfect. And you don't want to, you want to just take it easy and try and do a little bit every day. You don't want to, you know, you don't want to burn out on it, I guess is the word.
Just touching on what Joey is saying, and something that I think is very important as a community. As he mentioned, if somebody does come in with like a 6-inch green mohawk, right? Just chill out, be easy. They probably accepted Islam maybe like 20 minutes ago. Just take it easy, right? And that's something we need to learn as a community. Just imagine, just play this scenario out with me if you don't mind. Someone comes into the masjid, and I mentioned this a number of times, I just want to make sure that everybody understands. Somebody comes in new to Islam, they just accepted Islam, let's just say a few weeks ago, or somebody who's what we might term as a recommitted Muslim, somebody that's been born into a Muslim family, maybe they weren't practicing, but now maybe they had a near-death experience or something that's calling them back to Allah. So they come the first time in the masjid, they walk in, and you or I are the first ones to jump on them because the mohawk, or they don't have the hijab on, or they have piercings or tattoos. And so what does this person do? They say, okay, thank you so much. Exactly. They turn around and they head back outside. What will you say on the Day of Judgment? How will you answer to Allah that somebody came rushing to Allah, to the mercy of God, but you're the one that just wanted to quickly just jump on them for some reason? instead of being patient with them, instead of talking to them, instead of using hikmah and wisdom, but you know. So it's a reminder, and this is another reason why we have programs like this, to make sure that we understand that there's flexibility with people that recently became Muslim, because they're still learning. We're all still learning, right? So make sure that we understand this concept. So I really appreciate, Joe, you bringing that up. And if you're going to advise someone, my humble request, especially here at IIOC, just let one of the imams know. Or you can, I'm not an imam or a sheikh, maybe a mil sheikh, but not a sheikh. But it's just joking, right? But you can let me know, just let somebody from the outreach department know, because we went through some type of a training, if you will, right? Let us take care of it, right? But if you feel you're in a position where you can gently talk to someone and politely, then okay. But just please make sure that you're careful and you're cautious and you're polite when you're talking to someone. That's just a general advice for all of us, inshallah, God willing. Sister Crystal, if you have some last minute advice or suggestions before we take questions.
Perfect. So my advice to the non-Muslims is don't be scared. Don't be scared of the unknown. Don't be scared of change. So I know, as like I said, mentioned earlier, you know, we might be feeling overwhelmed because we feel we need to have this extensive knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all his 99 beautiful names, or know about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, we think we need to have all this extensive knowledge before we convert so that we can, you know, be the best Muslim that we can be. Like Joey and Brother Jamal had said, take it a step at a time. Knowledge is a life process. With anything, knowledge never stops. It continues throughout your whole life, and Islam is the same exact way for Muslim and non-Muslim. For Muslim and or convert and born Muslim. Knowledge doesn't end. It never ends. So don't be scared of the change and the unknown. And if your heart's there, go with it. As far as with Muslim, my Muslim community, I would say get involved. I know Brother Jamal had already mentioned that, but get involved in your community. Bring people to get involved. You know, sometimes, you know, people are struggling with their iman, with their faith, and, you know, sometimes they need that push. They need someone to bring them, to take them by the hand and guide them and show them. And so, you know, and it is now that I'm, you know, alhamdulillah, a part of, the social committee, you know, we do need a team, you know, we need to work together as a community in order to serve everyone, So I would say get involved. And another thing is to make sure that you are aware that you're doing dawah. Your words, your actions, the impressions that you are leaving, you're constantly making dawah with everything. You're constantly making dawah. So you want to make sure, you know, as a Muslim community, we should make sure that we're always planting seeds of faith, of love, you know, planting these different seeds with our Muslim community and the non-Muslim community. You know, alhamdulillah, you know, I met someone about actually last year, and we ended up becoming really, really great friends. And this friend of mine ended up looking into Islam, alhamdulillah, and I'm so happy to say that today she embraced Islam this afternoon, and she's sitting right here, Colina.
Alhamdulillah. So today, actually, Sister Colina is good friends with Sister Crystal, and Sister Crystal understood the concept of da'wah, or talking to people, educating them about Islam. And both of them actually travel very far to get here. And so today, earlier, we were honored here at IIOC that our dear sister, she wanted to embrace Islam, so she accepted Islam. So may Allah bless you, Sister Colina. Can I get a loud Allahu Akbar? Allahu Akbar. Thank you, inshallah. That's like a 2.3 on the Richter scale, but it's okay. I'll let you guys go, inshallah, no problem. But may Allah bless you, may Allah reward you. May Allah bless you as well. You understood the concept of giving back, you know, and talking and educating people about Islam. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khair. Reward you as well. All right, so we have a few minutes for questions and answers. So I'm going to ask our dear brother Abdul Rahman, if anybody has a question, and please, okay, so this is our question policy. please keep the question under like 15 seconds, or if it's over 15 seconds, yani, then you should be over here doing the discussion, because it's not like a 3-minute or 3-hour question. Please have mercy on us, inshallah. So if anybody has a question or a comment or suggestion, if you can raise your hand, that'll be great. Brother Abdul Rahman will be coming around, inshallah. We have a sister here. But Abdul Rahman, we can go, if you can hand the mic, inshallah. And if you can just direct your question to who you want it to, or if it's just an open question, no problem.
It's an open question, but how was your guys' first experience with Ramadan?
Mm.
It was the first experience of Ramadan? Okay, good. So
Sure. So Alex, as I had mentioned, I converted. Actually, I didn't even mention this. I converted, the day before Ramadan. So I really wanted to have the Ramadan experience. So getting into my first Ramadan experience, alhamdulillah, it wasn't hard. It was actually, I think I just really wanted to feel the spiritual part. I really wanted to understand what Ramadan meant, not just breaking your fast and not eating. It was in depth, having that spiritual connection. And so I think that my first Ramadan experience, I was able to feel just that and understand that portion. So I think when you know what you're doing, you're fasting for, when you know that it's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, well, when I converted, when I said my Shahada, it was actually, I can't remember if it was at the beginning or just right after Ramadan started about 2 years ago. And it wasn't that, the only real challenge for me was no water. That was a huge deal. I mean, I was a wrestler.
I think that's for all of us, right? No water.
I was a wrestler in high school, so I was kind of used to that a little bit. But it was actually really wonderful because when you broke the fast, if you were lucky enough to be here, I think it's called iftar, which is where you break the fast. So there was wonderful food, love the food. So it was great. It was wonderful.
Good. Quick. I'm always.
The question I have for Brother Joey, can you tell us when and where you took your Shahada?
Yes, that was right outside in the parking lot.
With no shoes
at
on.
the entrance, with no shoes on at the entrance.
Okay, very good. I think I recall the moment you came in.
Right.
I wanted to add here something, just a quick comment about Brother Joe. He came at night.
15 seconds.
Everybody
5 seconds.
Please, this is very important. Very, very important. Especially for a Dawah program also. This brother of us came in at night after everybody prayed and left. I was standing in front of the main entrance here, from the parking lot side, and he just walked in with the roller skate back, and you want to take Shahada at night. Everybody is gone. All of a sudden, the Samir walks out, and I told him, Brother Samir, we have a brother here who wants to take Shahada. He said, no, tell him to come back tomorrow. I said, Brother Samir, no way. He came this moment to take his Shahada. I want him to take Shahada now. Can you call Brother Mustafa Omar if he's in the office? He said, yeah, he's going to come in. He came down. I told Brother Mustafa, this gentleman here wants to take Shahada now, before going home to sleep tonight. Can you please help him take the Shahada? So I stood with him outside, standing up. Brother Mustafa Omar, myself, and there was, I think, a third brother with us. And I told Brother Samir, now, if he walks out and rides his roller skate and a car hits him and he dies as a Muslim, we'll bury him in a Muslim cemetery. So give him that
Not
chance.
to scare you or anything.
Well, if it's true though.
Give him that chance to be a Muslim now.
All right, man.
So it's very important.
Thank you so much.
Never turn anyone away if they come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
Thank you so much. I love this way. Yeah, inshallah. Questions? If I can just have anybody has, if you want our brother over here, just because you're a Bruin, so we're going to give.
I just wanted to make a statement to both brothers and the sister. that I think you know that the day you took Shahada, all your previous sins and mistakes were wiped out. As a matter of fact, I've been a Muslim 60 years, but I guess you are ahead of me. And I ask you to pray for all of us. One question is, when you took Shahada, how did your parents and brothers and sisters react?
Good question. Good question. The question, just in case somebody didn't hear it, how did the family feel when both of you embraced Islam? Was there some type of a family pressure? Did you tell them? Did you not tell them? Take us through that if you don't mind. I'll start with you, Sis Krisho.
So when I took my Shahada, I converted, and you know, it was very difficult because even though my family wasn't a practicing Catholic family, you know, they took the religion from their fathers, and then they took the religion from their forefathers, and so on and so on. So it just kind of became essentially cultural, and you know, my family had very strong ties with that, although they weren't practicing. So I was really afraid, especially with my grandparents. At the time, I was living with my grandparents, and I was afraid what was going to happen. So when I converted, they didn't take it quite well. Actually, they took it really, really bad, and we're still we're working on it. But with my father, I didn't actually tell anyone that I converted, my family, that I converted until after I converted. The first person that I told was actually my father. On Father's Day, I pulled him aside, and I told him, like, listen, you know, Dad, you know, I've been looking into the Islamic faith, and, you know, what do you think about, you know, me becoming Muslim? So, you know, alhamdulillah, my father's response, he was the most understanding out of everyone. He responded to me and said, you know, like, if your heart needs this, if you know this is what you want, and this is what truly makes you happy, and this is how you're gonna find God, do it. So, you know, so then a couple weeks later, I let him know, like, I'm a Muslim, you know, and it's so interesting because that day, that Father's Day, I had actually posted something on Facebook that was talking about Prophet Isa, Jesus Christ, and it was talking about, it was very informative, saying that, you know, we have a lot of commonalities with, like, you know, Maryam, the Virgin Mary, you know, that there was some commonalities there. And my dad ended up watching that video that day that I had that conversation with him, and he was the one that was telling my family, did you know that Muslims actually believe in the Virgin Mary? Did you know that they believe in Jesus Christ as well? Like, she actually has a whole chapter in the whole Quran. He was so stunned. So I was like, wow, mashallah, like, Allah is setting me up to tell my father. So I gained that confidence, and I told my father. So my father took it well, but the rest of my family unfortunately didn't. But it's a process. It's a working, you know, process.
Thank you so much. Joy, you want to answer that?
You know, I am one of the very lucky ones.
Yes.
My dad went and thought it was a great idea, and he took the Shahada.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive.
I don't see, Rob's not here today, huh?
No, he's, we're going to do some car work tomorrow. I'm driving down. So anyways, we're going to help him. Yeah.
So, yeah, this is actually very fortunate. Yeah, you're being very humble about it. I appreciate it. But Joey's father also embraced Islam. So Joey talked about Islam. He must have also been researching Islam. Actually, he was going to be a speaker with us tonight as well. So like a father and son as well. But God willing, inshallah, we'll have him maybe in the near future. But so yeah, so I take it he was very open to it.
Yeah,
he embraced Islam, right?
he was, you know, real positive. And this is, I mean, totally blow your stereotypes out of the water. This is Republican, voted for Reagan, U.S. veteran. He's just like, yeah, I love it. And I convert to Islam.
Alhamdulillah. Sounds good. I think we have time for maybe one, possibly two questions. So we have one in the left here, but Abdurrahman. Okay, inshallah. Yeah. And if you can just direct your questions to the speaker, that'll be great, unless it's an open-end or a general question.
Was there any breaking point, or you feel it by heart, in order to convert to Islam?
Was there a breaking point? Sorry, if you can repeat the question, Amu.
I'm saying, what attracts you more, or what the idea comes to your mind in order to you have to convert to Islam?
Okay. So what was the thing that maybe sparked? We talked about it, but what was the thing that maybe sparked your the interest of Islam, but actually becoming a Muslim as well? Was there? Can you pinpoint maybe one thing? If I understood the question correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
that's right.
Inshallah. So maybe from the things that you mentioned, was there one in particular that really kind of said, you know what?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think, it was the first moment, the moment when I was told, by the individual that I had been talking to and asking about Islam, when they had said that God is one, everything just made sense, because that's exactly what I had believed and felt my whole life, but I didn't know there was a religion that existed for that. So when I was told that God is one, that for me was the moment, I think that was the moment where just something resided in my heart, and I just I knew, and for me it just seemed all just too easy, but that was my moment.
So you thought it must be more to this than just God being one. It
Yeah.
wasn't as simple as that. But
Exactly.
It actually was.
I was actually stunned just in the simplicity, because I was like, that's exactly what I've been looking for.
That's tawheed, or monotheism. It's a fitrah. It's a natural disposition that we're all born. And when you recognize that, right, it kind of hits you, it just makes a lot of sense that God is one. He has no partners, no mother, no father, no sons, no daughters, no mediators. That the Creator, Allah, is one. Joy, did you have the same type of experience, or was there one thing in particular? Or
I did mention that we believe that Isa
Yes.
didn't die. He was raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But, I had a list of the Christian things that I had to, adjust to. Every time, 5 times a day, I recite Surah Al-Ikhlas. We say, Kul huwa Allahu ahad. Say He is one. Allahu ahad. Allahu, yeah. The one and only. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He's begotten, nor is He begotten. Allahu samad. And there's none like unto Him. Wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Sorry, I had to say the whole thing in my head again.
It's okay, we're with you, brother. We got you. We got 100 people that correct you. Don't worry. There you go, the rest.
So I say that every 5 times a day. That's that's huge. It's hard to explain coming from a. That's the biggest. That's a huge deal to me, and I'm sure if there's any Christians online or here to hear that, it's a really powerful thing. So to accept that and to say that and to mean that means a lot.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to have to go ahead and stop it there because we're a little bit over 9 o'clock. A few things before everyone gets up, please. So just before everyone gets up, very quickly. Number 1, the kitchen is still open. Okay, so I would love everyone to maybe take a plate, get some more food, take it home. There's a special going on right now. 3 tacos for $5. And the combo is $5 as well. So we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to get some more food, inshallah. Number 2, we're going to need help cleaning up. Now, the centerpieces, they're for the masjid, please. So if by mistake somebody took it, thinking that it's like a wedding or something, I would ask you kindly if you can bring it back. These are not gifts that we're giving away. I'll get fired if they're gone, so I don't want to get fired. So it'll be great. But if we can kindly put the tables and chairs away, that'll be great. Number 3, for those of you, if we have any non-Muslim guests, and I think we have a number of people here that are non-Muslim neighbors or family members, I would be more than happy to give you any type of information about Islam if you're interested. A free English or Spanish translation of the Quran, some flyers. So if you are interested, you can see me here. Number 4, anybody again that wants to take part in our outreach efforts here, and again, it's a very special program that we have, probably one of the few in the nation. I'm being very honest, one of the few in the whole nation that is what we have here. So if you want to take part in this, please let me know. You can contact me. I'll be here, inshallah, God willing. And really quickly as well, I want to really thank all the volunteers, because again, when you go out and you see everyone that's working, these are all volunteers. And so please make sure you thank them from the bottom of your heart with sincerity. And I really appreciate it, because without the volunteers and the whole team working, this event would not be possible. Obviously after the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, if anybody's in a position to help the outreach department, if you can't physically help, please make dua. That should be number 1. Supplicate for us. But if anybody's in a financial position to help us and donate, because everything we give is for free. The Qur'ans, English, Spanish, the flyers, many of the things that we're doing, they have expenses, and we don't charge people. We try not to charge people. So if anybody's in a position that you can donate, you can help us in to whatever capacity, I would really appreciate. You can see me afterwards, inshallah. Having said that, let's go ahead and fold up the tables and the chairs. Again, the centerpieces we want to keep. Kitchen is still open. I pray everyone has a great ride back home. May Allah bless you all. May Allah reward you all. Jazakallahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.